Can we please talk about how stupid this friggin' guy is? We all know he's stupid. This is no secret. But since Republicans got destroyed the other day in the elections, Donald Trump's stupidity is now once again coupled with an increasing desperation and panic. And that only exacerbates the stupidity. Now, I want to play for you a short video clip of this guy. Many of you have probably seen it. The stupidity, it doesn't even need to be commented upon, but I'm going to. Anyway, I'm going to play this, and then I have some things I want to talk about. So watch this.
But can you imagine when they vote almost unanimously against voter ID? All we want is voter ID. You go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. You go to a gas station, you give ID. But for voting, they want no voter ID. That's only for one reason, because they cheat. We would pass that in 15 minutes.
The stupidity of this buffoon is off the chart. It's almost hard to believe. And I know we've been living with this for most of the last decade. And he says profoundly stupid things nearly every time he speaks. Yet still, the level of this man's stupidity is so off the charts that I still sometimes am taken aback by it. And you know, if we weren't living in such a ridiculous moment in time, a statement like this, where he says, you go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. What the is he talking about? Now, obviously, this is absurd. But it's absurd to anyone who's been to a grocery store or anyone who's been to a gas station. You know, some people have said that it shows how out of touch he is. Now, he's definitely out of touch. I mean, this is a man who literally shits on a golden toilet, okay? You can't get much more out of touch than that. But it's so far beyond that. I remember there was an incident where George H.W. Bush, I believe, was at a grocery store way back in the day. And he was standing in front of a cashier and they were scanning the groceries, right? And it pops up the price on the screen. And it was obvious that George H.W. Bush had not been to a grocery store in quite a while because he didn't know anything about these scanners, right? Obviously, the last time he went to a grocery store, they didn't have that, okay? You had to look at the item and punch in the price on a cash register, okay? So that was really bad for him because it showed how out of touch he was, that he clearly has not been to a grocery store in like a really long time. But this, Donald Trump saying you go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. You go to a gas station, you have to give ID. This is beyond out of touch because at least with George H.W. Bush, there was a point in time where those scanners didn't exist. But for Donald Trump, there never was a point in time where you had to show ID to buy fucking Hamburger Helper. Okay, there was never a point in time when you have to show ID at a grocery store. But why all of a sudden is he obsessed with voter ID again? Because he's always been obsessed with voter ID. But why now? Why this push for voter ID? Well, these people actually believe the bullshit that they push to the Fox News audience. They actually begin, I don't know if they've always believed it or that they just say this nonsense so often because their friggin' cult laps this crap up that they say it so often that they have convinced themselves of it, that this crap is true. And one of the things that they say repeatedly is that illegal aliens are voting. And if you don't need to show ID, then all these millions of illegal aliens are voting and they're all voting for Democrats. That is ridiculous, especially now. But there's no evidence that this was ever a problem. There's never been any proof of illegal aliens voting in our elections. Maybe one isolated incident here or there, but this has never been a problem. Why? I mean, why would they? They're here illegally. They will try to avoid having contact with the government as much as possible. Why are they going to go and try to vote and put them in contact with government officials? Why would they do that when they know they're here illegally? And especially now. I mean, people are getting arrested and kidnapped and whisked away to prison camps just for walking down the street being brown. No illegal alien, no one who is here illegally is going to try to vote. It's just not going to happen. Never has been a problem, and it's certainly not going to happen now. So why? Why this push for voter ID? Well, I think he believes it. I think he actually believes, he's convinced himself that millions of illegal aliens vote in our elections and they all vote for Democrats. And this man is desperate for Republicans to retain control of Congress. Because if Democrats get control of even just the House, and if things keep going the way they are, and there is another blowout for, a blue wave blowout election in the midterms, as things seem on track to, it looks like we're on track for that to happen, but, we'll see. It's a long way off. But if that happens, there's a good chance Democrats could get both houses of Congress, but certainly the House. And that alone would be such a problem for Trump, given all the crimes he has committed, all the instances of bribery and extortion, just the constitutional violations. And I will keep saying this, a lot of the crimes that he has committed are not subject to the Supreme Court's immunity decision, meaning that he can be prosecuted for those crimes when he leaves office. So he is desperate for Republicans to maintain control of Congress. And he's trying to do everything he can to ensure that happens. And since he believes, because he's fucking insane, that millions of illegal aliens are voting in our elections, he wants to put an end to that. And so that's why he is obsessed with voter ID. He is obsessed with a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, because he is so friggin' demented. And because all he does is watch Fox News, where they have been pushing this nonsense literally for 20 plus years. Anyway, but here's the other thing I want to talk about, because he's talking about groceries, right? And he also the other day said this. He said, grocery prices are way down, which of course is a lie, right? Why is he saying that? Well, because Republicans clearly believe that the reason they just got their asses kicked in the election was because of the price of things, the economy, and specifically inflation and the price of goods and services. And because all of a sudden, they're all talking about how we need to focus on affordability. That's why Democrats won the election. There was a lengthy interview with Steve Bannon in Politico after the election, and he goes on and on talking about affordability, and that has to be part of the message. One of Trump's advisors, I saw another interview with one of these people talking about how Trump will focus now going forward on affordability. Well, what the hell has he been focused on? Obviously not affordability, but wasn't that like the main part of his campaign? He's going to round up all the brown people, and he was going to bring the price of groceries down. He made a big deal about the price of groceries. He gave a speech, I think at one of his friggin' country clubs, and he had a couple of tables behind him with groceries on, like coffee and cereal and eggs and, all kinds of groceries. And he said some, he poorly read some prepared speech, and then he walked over to the table with the groceries and he picked up a box of cereal. This cereal is really expensive now. We're going to get the... Anyway, the focus of the campaign, at least in part, was bringing the price of groceries down starting on day one. Everything was going to happen on day one. He's going to bring down the price of groceries. He was going to end the war in Ukraine. All of this was going to happen on day one. Of course, none of it's happened. And now they're desperate because they saw what happened on Tuesday. And if things keep trending in this direction, they're almost certainly going to lose the House, and they may very well lose both houses of Congress. And then Trump is fucked. So he's desperate. And he's doing what he always does. If reality is bad for him, he just lies about it. He thinks he can change reality, or at least people's perception of reality, just by lying about it and saying it's the exact opposite of what it truly is. And, for a lot of issues, that actually has worked for him, especially with his mindless cult. The problem is, when you're lying about groceries, nobody's really going to buy that. Now, some of his cult might pretend that groceries are down, to own the libs on social media. But the truth is, nobody's going to believe it. People actually go to the store and buy groceries. And they can see what the price of groceries are, and they know they're not coming down. So this, wishing it away, just deny reality and reality will change, it's not going to work for him. And here's another example of him lying about it. I just saw he posted this on Truth Social. He said, Walmart just announced that prices for a Thanksgiving dinner are now down 25% since under sleepy, crooked Joe Biden in 2024. It's like a chimp trying to write with a fucking crayon. This guy's an idiot. Affordability is a Republican stronghold. Affordability is Hopefully, Republicans will use this irrefutable fact. Anyways, he's trying to say that Walmart just announced that prices for a typical Thanksgiving dinner are down 25% from last year. Well, guess what? People have done the research on what the information that Walmart put out, because apparently Walmart did say this. But in 2024, the number of items that made up the typical Thanksgiving meal, according to Walmart, was 21 items. In this year, 15 items. And last year, most of the items were name brand items that they priced out. This year, they're almost all Walmart great value items. This is an example of Walmart, once again, another major corporation, helping Donald Trump push his bullshit propaganda lies to the American people. At this point, I don't even know why. Oh, damn it, I just dropped my fucking paper. Hold on. God damn it. Fuck. Why do you record in your car, Romano? Good friggin' question. There's answers to it, but whatever. Look, I'm already going long here, but let me wrap it up by saying this. The economy's in the shitter. You know it. I know it. And so Donald Trump is going to be ever more desperate in the lies that he tells about the economy, because the reality just is not what he needs it to be. Just saw an article today. Economists are warning of what they call the Jenga economy. Basically meaning that it's just on the verge of tipping over completely. One little piece is pulled out. One little thing goes wrong in this economy and the whole fucking thing's going to come crashing down. Not a good place to be. Job cuts in October. We got some numbers here. Job losses or job cuts in October, the highest in 22 years. Household debt. How are Americans doing, huh? Well, the household debt has now reached a record high. Americans have an aggregate household debt of $18.6 trillion. This is bad, and it's getting worse. And if things continue like this, Republicans are going to get destroyed in the midterms. Even someone as stupid as Donald Trump, I think, can see this. So look for him to become even more desperate, even more unhinged. Look for his lies to become ever more unbelievable and ridiculous. And you know what? He's too stupid to understand this, but the best thing for him politically would probably be for the Supreme Court to rule that his tariffs are unconstitutional and strike them down. Because if there's a single thing that can be done to help the economy, it would be to get rid of all of his tariffs all at once. And that could happen if the Supreme Court strikes him down. Now, he will be furious because he didn't impose the tariffs for all the reasons he says he did. He doesn't give a fuck about bringing jobs back or the economy or paying off debt, whatever bullshit excuse, because he's given lots of reasons for these tariffs. The real reason for the tariffs are to extort money out of people. That's all it is. Put these tariffs on countries and have these major corporations be affected, and, you can extort money from them. You want these tariffs lifted? Well, if you buy a couple $1 billion of my friggin' meme coin, then maybe I'll take those tariffs off. You give me this, you give me that, you give me a jet, then maybe I'll take the tariffs off. It's all about grift and extortion and bribery. That's what the tariffs are for. So he's going to be pissed because he's going to lose a lot of money from his extortion racket if these tariffs are struck down. But it'll probably be the best thing for him politically. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.